Well, there are some objections to the teleological argument, and one objection has to do with the analogy. Hume argued that the analogy is a bad one. David Hume in the 18th century was familiar with the design argument, and he simply claimed that watches and eyes, man-made objects, and the universe are simply not similar enough to have a strong analogy between them. So universes and watches are not very similar. Hume believed that the universe is much more like a living organism than a man-made object. He believed that the universe, much like living organisms, grow and adapt, and watches do not. But we can't use universes and living organisms as an analogy in our argument because we don't have experience with either of them having been designed, which is why people use man-made objects. Hume also said another reason why these two things are not very similar is that we don't actually have experience with universes being created. We can talk to people who design watches and fix watches. Probably a little bit easier to do in the 18th century than now because they're mostly made in factories in Taiwan. But we don't have any experience with universes being made. I mean, I don't know about you all, but I was totally sick in 4th grade when they took the field trip to the Universe Factory. I was completely bummed. We just don't have any experience with that. So Hume said the analogy between universes and watches simply is not strong enough for the analogical teleological argument to be a good one. Next, it's not clear that the designer has to be God. I want you all to look back at the argument for a second, okay? The argument says the universe probably has a designer, namely God. The argument might get us that there's a designer. But that's that is not the same thing as the designer being a supreme, perfect being. So the argument does not entail that the designer had to be supremely intelligent. Look, let me tell you a story. Y'all remember in elementary school, sometime between the 3rd and 5th grade, I expect, you had to make a diorama of the universe. Okay, you remember you took a shoebox and you maybe lined it with black construction paper and you poked holes in it for the stars and then you put the planets in there. Some people, I think, used hangers and did a mobile, where you like had the solar system hanging from the clothes hanger. Okay. So I want you to imagine that there is an incredibly intelligent alien race. And among this intelligent alien race, there is a 4th grader who is so smart, he's like the Einstein of this race. Okay, he's just wildly intelligent. And he is assigned as a homework project to make a model of the universe. Well, he's an overachiever, so instead of modeling his universe, he creates a universe. And here we are. Now, he is gone on to high school, he's gone on to college, he's about to graduate from college. And we have been sitting on a shelf in his closet ever since he created us in the 4th grade. And Mom is going to come in and clear out that closet. The universe project is going in the trash compactor, and that's it. We're done for. Our analogical teleological argument does support that story. It supports that story as much as it supports that God would be a supreme perfect being. All we get is that there's a really intelligent designer, not that it is God. Does that make sense? Okay. And finally, when we look at the actual world, it's not clear that the designer was perfect. Our world seems terribly imperfect. It's flawed and dangerous. And if God is perfect and He designed our universe, shouldn't the universe be perfect? So if we believe that creation reflects the Creator, then the designer of our universe must be finite and imperfect. After all, our universe is finite and imperfect. It makes sense that our designer would be as well. Make sense?